Blessed love, my Lord and Empress. Give thanks for life and the mighty life giver, Jah Rastafari. This is the African Liberation Network, and I'm the host, Honorable Prophet Daniel. And, today we're here with Honorable Priest Priest Douglas Smith of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, also, pillar of the Bobo study group. And today's, reasoning topic is neocolonialism, and economics and Rastafari. So, just like to welcome Honorable Priest. Blessed love, my Lord. Welcome again.
Blessed love, Honorable. Yeah, man. Always a pleasure to be here as the servant of the people, serving the people. Edifying ones with a little bit of knowledge as we unfold it and try to edify ourselves as well. Yeah, man. So give.
True, my Lord. Give thanks for their presence as well. Give thanks for all the YouTube viewers, and remember to like the video if you are in any way educated or informed. Your support definitely helps us to get the message out further and further. The more likes we have, more comments, etc. So engage with us. Let us know what you think about what we're saying. Suggest things. Give us some vibes. So yes, my Lord and Empress, to get into the topic now, I really want to just allow the priest to kind of have the floor and give us, an understanding, foundational understanding of the neocolonialism system that we're going to be talking about in detail. Give thanks, my Lord.
Yes, my virgin and family, listeners. Yeah, a very important topic because we are currently under a neocolonialism structure. Now, what is neocolonialism? Neocolonialism is just a new version of an old system. Colonialism, and everyone know what colonialism is, especially Black people, because we suffered under colonialism. We continue to bear the pangs of it. Now, colonialism is where one set of people decide to rule over another set of people, to oppress them, to downpress them. Now, in our case, it went beyond just mere rulership and oppression. We were taken out of our homeland. We were beaten out of our consciousness into becoming a new set of people, not knowing our history, not knowing our, theology, not knowing our roots. So we became someone different. Give thanks to the patriarchs that came before us, that walked the path and lit the path that we are on right now, that we have been able to regain the knowledge of ourselves. But it took 500 years for us to be at this point where we're at today, where we can understand what colonialism is, what it has done, and what it continues to do in our present time. Yes, beloved.
Yes, my Lord. So, for ones and ones reference, there is a video on the African Liberation Network. There are actually a couple, where we have kind of, taken, and we've talked about neocolonialism a bit in different focuses, different themes. But, there's some information there for your reference, if you want to know a little bit more. And, of course, Priest Dougie and I are going to go into it a little bit deeper even here. But just so you know, this is going to be a series of reasoning because neocolonialism is a big topic and it really controls the world we live in today. And it's, we see it as a very fundamental piece of information, to understand what it is and how it works. So, yes, Priest Dougie, now, as it relates to Rastafari and, in our present situation in the 21st century, being, Rastafari, how do we, in your experience and with your understanding, your insight, how do we begin to really gear ourselves or brace ourselves to deal with a world that is run by neocolonialists and the system of neocolonialism, my Lord?
Yes. Now, first of all, before we get to understanding what we need to do, we have to understand what is it we are up against.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give a little and be patient with me. It's a bit lengthy, but if one's listen keenly, you will see that it's a wealth of information. It expresses to you the definition in every area of what neocolonialism is and what it does and how it functions. And I've tried to make it as simplistic as possible. The modern world is founded on an autocratic ideal of colonization, or in a clearer sense, gunboat diplomacy, as I and I, Father King Emmanuel, always call it, A principle or lack of principle, wherein might supersedes right. The weak is subdued and suppressed or downpressed by the strong. The building block of modern day global societies is neocolonialism, or a new approach to an old method of domination. The principles of neocolonialism are not based on outright force, but instead coercion using institutions. Society is an institution constructed to safeguard, protect, and perpetuate a people's common interest. That is what a society is defined as. Okay. A society is defined as a complex system striving for balance while always undergoing change as a result of competition over scarce resources. This analysis is based on a conflict theory definition. It defines a capitalistic approach to the construct of modern societies. On the other hand, there is the concept of functionalism, which sees societies as a complex system striving for change based on the concept of interdependency, which fosters cohesion through common interest. Now, let me go back to that, because that speaks a lot right here. A society is defined as a complex system striving for balance while always undergoing change as a result of competition over scarce resources. This analysis is based on a conflict theory definition. See? It defines a capitalistic approach to the construct of modern societies. Now, while on the other hand, there is the concept of functionalism, which sees society as a complex system striving for change based on the concept of interdependency, which fosters cohesion through common interests, which would naturally be the African way. Now, conflict theory and functionalism in modern societies create a binary opposition, two opposing theories, one based on deception and competition, the other is based on common unity, the essence of community. Today's modern system of societal administration is utilitarian and bureaucratic in nature. It is designed to accomplish complex functions using institutions to coordinate their independent individual or independent cooperation. Politics is the science of government that supposes to protect these human rights that is not protected under the existing laws. Now, this is where we see that politics is something different from what it was designed to be. The politics that we come know in the modern world today is not based on these original principles as defined here. Now, for example, making sure that their constituents have life necessities such as housing, running water, electricity, health services, communication services, and access to food supplies, good roads, and public transportation. These are among the human rights politicians should be concerned with. Today's dominant political culture is capitalism, which is based on negative interdependency, of which the principles are conflict and competition. The principles of modern political engagement is driven by an adversarial decision-making process. This process creates chaos through conflict and competition, which also fosters opportunity for economic vultures willing to scavenge off the suffering of the unfortunate. The wise and conscious choose what is defined as normative organizational structure, a method or order based on voluntary and positive interdependency and amicable disbursement of resources. Within a societal structure, agents of change must shoulder shared common commitment for positive and progressive outcomes. Herein, social institutions are enduring patterns of organizational structures within a society. Subsystems functioning at the meso level within society between the macro and micro levels, performing differentiated functions. The societal institutions are identified as a persistent constellation of statutes, rules, values, and norms that respond to important societal needs, which create functional outputs as a consequence of self-organization. In social science, self-organization or spontaneous order is when a dysfunctional system was driven by individualism finds order through local interaction. This process is mostly spontaneous when sufficient positive energy is made available and does not need controlling from an external agent. So what this is all saying here is that society set up a certain way. Originally, using the etymology of words, society was supposed to defend the rights of people, the rights of people to be, like the constitutions all state free, to pursue happiness, with morals and ethics and all the beautiful words that we know. See, now, through colonialism and neocolonialism, they have usurped those principles, wherein a minute amount of ones, which them call the pyramid of power, a 5%, 10% at the most, manipulates the resources of the world, controlling power. Now, there are two principles that they use. One is called globalization, and one is called socialization. Now, globalization is the movement of people, goods, and services across borders and, internationally, globally. That's why it's called globalization. Now, socialization is the way in which people are, what you would say now, brainwashed to think. They control our thought process through propaganda, through media, especially now with the creation of social media. People are taught how to think, how to respond, how to act, what to eat. We are subliminally programmed. And that is one of the great tools of neocolonialism, wherein they have removed the chains from people of color, from the black man, from the African. They have removed the temporal chains. Well, they didn't remove it. We bust those chains up through our resistance and our resilience, seeing, and, fought and gained our liberty. But we still are not free, because even though we remove the temporal chains, the teaching that we continue to get comes from them, which brings us to education, a tool of neocolonialism. Because we are not taught to be free thinkers, to think for ourselves. Or in essence, then, we are not taught discernment, how to discern for ourselves, how to analyze, critical thinking, using of our analytical skills. That is not what we are taught. We are taught how to think, what to think, a pattern of thought. So every time something happens, our reaction is a subliminally programmed reaction. So they know what to do to incite us to certain response. Like a puppeteer pulling the strings from behind and making the puppet do what he wants them to do. So we are subliminally trained. Right now, if you look in the communities of color, the Black communities, even more so, let's talk about the Rastafari and Pan-African communities. There's a level of chaos right now. Now, we're not talking about doom and gloom and all is lost and all of that stuff. We're talking about confusion, chaos, purposely done to keep us distracted from the real prize. Another method of neocolonialism, divide and rule. It works from the colonial days, So why change a method that works? You just continue, you might disguise it a bit better now, or you might not, but it works and it continues to work. So they find ways of dividing us, and putting us against one another, people within the same group. And you might be saying this is just a rambling of a Rastafari. And if you think that, let me give you some tangible proof. Go and do your research. All who are listening to this, reasoning here now, do your research. There is a program called COINTELPRO, established by a famous or infamous American named Edgar Hoover. And it's a method that was used against the Panthers and all the black organization, the black power organizations of the early days of the 60s and the late 50s coming into the 60s coming down. That method was used to disarm them, to weaken them, to mash them up. See, in this, and it has the same approach: divide and rule, set one against the other. They turn even two leaders, UAP Newton and Bobby Seale, against them one another through deception, through misinformation, through using our own people to infiltrate us, see, and to work against us. So all of this ties into the same thing we're talking about, all of this black power struggle, Caribbean struggle, the struggle that we had to liberate ourselves, the struggle that Rastafari continue to fight in the Caribbean spaces and globally. See, to be who we are and to defend the right to be who we are. See, it's the same struggle continuing, That's why it's called neocolonialism, just a new name or a new face to the same game. Seeing of control, manipulation, seeing control of power. Now it brings us, let's tie it into now our reality as Rastafari. Now, Rastafari have a solution. If we could only get a chance, like Marcus Garvey said, if Africa can get 50 uninterrupted years from outsiders, from all those infiltrators, all those culture bandits, those plunderers, those pirates, those, everyone know who I'm talking about. If we could just get 50 uninterrupted years, you would see the magnificent progress that Africa would make. Well, it's the same way. Rastafari have a solution to the global problem. That's why Rastafari has grown in such a short space of time, to become a global entity. So no matter which crevice or corner of the world you go, you see someone hailing Rastafari and living the live. Now, why? Because the unconditional love, that word which people use, Rastafari has manifested it into a livity, taken it from just a word and an expression to a practice, to a way of life, our outlook on life and the way we live. It's a counteraction to colonialism and neocolonialism. Because one, I and I seek to be always independent of every entity and independent of all things. That means we don't even want to be addicted to nothing. So we don't deal with drugs. We don't deal with anything that is addictive. See, we try to control. No, we're not saying we're perfect, Everything is a working process and is a temptation every day. And some days you win, some days you don't. But our order, our mode of operation, as they would say, our MO, is always to be independent. So that is coming from an economic level right up to how we live in our social surrounding. Now, if ones and ones embrace that independent way of life, that self-sufficiency, now going back to nature and to what nature provides and using sustainable and renewable resources, to build their societies and to build the future and the way of life, then our solutions start to manifest itself, If we take the emphasis off of materialism, we take the loss out of people's eyes and hearts. So the Rastaman way of life, that natural way in which we profess to live and we attempt to live and we try to live against all odds, like the salmon swimming upstream going against the current, the Rastaman tries to live that way in this corrupt world, in this, especially in these places of these slave lands where we are marooned. We try to build that type of moral and ethical way of life, and it's a solution, it's a sustainable way of life, and it's a solution to most of what plagues society today. Because it's the loss of man eyes, the loss of the heart, material loss that cause a lot of conflict, even among countries. It's over the earth's resources, when the earth resources belong to the earth. And all of us are part of the earth. And we are part of that resource as well, because when we die, we go back to the earth. We come from the earth, we go forward to the earth, and we come back part of the earth, and life come again out of I and I. So life is ever living. That's the eternal life we talk about. That cycle. See? So for man to be fighting to control something in which he's only here for a short while to enjoy is really a waste of our precious time to, wasting our life to be like the colonial and the neo-colonial people them want to amass all the wealth of the earth that they can amass in their lifetime, while the trueness of living is passing us by. Family, the answer to neo-colonialism is not social distancing, is not Zoom interaction and telephone, text and all them things there. Okay? It is us coming together as a people and creating the independence that we need to sustain our communities, build our community independent from big government and big corporation. Because right now, that's what society survives off and is sustained by the big corporations and big government. If you look at life, you live in communities, especially in the islands. And no matter what happened to the road and what happened to the bridge and what happened to the infrastructure that we all use daily, we sit and we wait for government to repair it. In our community, where things are eroding and going bad, we don't come together as a community and shore it up and make sure it is usable for us, We wait on the big government to come and do it. And that is what modern day society has taught us, to submit our will, our labor, our life to big government. You work and live till 65, then you retire when you're frail and weak and suffering from all kind of aches and pains from working so long. Now you can't enjoy no life. So when you retire now, you just retire now to deal with your illness until you die. That's the kind of society that we are programmed to be a part of. See, and the melee of voting every 4 years or however much years for a system that never serves us, the people. As a matter of fact, we vote in people to come back and step against us, to act like they are superstars and they're celebrities, and we have them on a pedestal and we worship them and adore them. See, so we are taught to do that through a system called neocolonialism. They educate us through their media and their process, and they make us feel every 4 years people get hyped for this election thing, no matter where, what country, you get hype and people get charged up and people go out in them colors and with them flag and all these different things. Over what? At the end of the day, at the end of the election, what do you get? What has changed in the next 4 years in a positive way for the masses of people? So the solution to neocolonialism is to take back our independence, to take back our communities and construct them for ourselves in a sustainable way. Wherein which we provide the services that we need for ourselves. We have our doctors, our law, everything that we need is within our community. We grow our food, seeing. We have a system of how we grow our food, where we have the range of food that we need by how our system is set. We construct the thing for our own survival and not keep on repeating a failed system, a system which we come and say is Babylon, and we find it flawed and we find it wrong, and we see that neocolonialism is our oppressive system that beat down indigenous people, that try to wipe out indigenous cultures, where indigenous people are endangered, to where the United Nations have to have a program called preservation of indigenous culture. See, so a deliberacy, which is part of globalization now, because globalization, the principle of it, the dominant culture, which the world dominant culture for the last century has been the cola culture, the pop culture. Whether it is the Pepsi Cola or the Coca-Cola or it's the cola culture, what they call the pop culture. And it has been the dominant culture throughout the world. See, even if you go to Asia, the Asians, they're dancing and listening to rap and the hip hop. The Africans, the same. Most musics now today, most genre of music have become influenced by, the pop culture, the cola culture. So that dominant culture is what runs the world, the younger generation, the whole Ebonics and the sagging pants and the gun violence and the excessive use of drugs and alcohol and all of that stuff is the pop culture that has inspired that into our younger generation, where the value system has been changed through neocolonialism. The elders are not valued. They are not needed. You have Google, so you can Google, so you don't need the elder to tell you history and his experience and to help you to miss some of the pitfalls that he fell in. You can Google and you learn. You think you can Google and learn certain things, certain level of knowledge, And yes, you can learn a certain level of knowledge, but Google can never replace the experience of a person telling you face to face their experience and showing you how they were able to survive the challenges that life threw at them. But neocolonialism has changed all of that. So the solution is to return to the past to go forward. Bring back the institutions, the African-centered institutions that served our communities back in the day. Bring back the rites of passage principle, where we prepare our youths to enter life and not leave them for social media to grow, for television to grow, for computer to grow. But we parent our children and mentor our children, and the orphans that have no parents, we are supposed to parent them as well and mentor them as well and make sure that they have an equal chance to become someone in life and not become a predator on society, as what is happening today, where the youths are being turned into mandroids and androids and unleashed on society. Black and black crimes and all kinds of different crimes and crazy crimes, shooting up places with innocent people and all kinds of crazy things. Neocolonialism at its highest, at its peak. We have to take back our communities, reorganize our communities, educate our community. That is where it starts. That's the beginning process. Re-education. As Carter G. Woodson said, re-education of the African, where we start to look at things pre-slavery to understand ourselves so we can reconstruct our greatness that existed in those days of the Egyptian dynasty, when Egypt was the matrix of power and Ethiopia was the mother of Egypt, that fed that knowledge and power to Egypt, who shared it with the rest of the world. Yes, my lord, I think enough has been said.
Yes, give thanks. One thing that I guess I was looking for you to mention regarding Rastafari. Um, Maybe you could elaborate even, maybe, but land, uh, as part of the solution to Rastafari, counteraction, I guess, or not even counteraction, but just, our liberty, helping us to be less likely to be victims of neocolonialism, is that we have to have land. Rastafari has always been agitating for repatriation to Africa. Some Rastafari, and even in the West, have acquired some land. But in order for us to have that community and village life, it's really imperative that we have our own land that we can't be, evicted from if we miss a payment, or, you know, I think a lot of the Black world of people is in a situation now where rent is like well, not even just rent, but our living expenses are the shackles and chains. And I think you had mentioned, the fact that the consumerism definitely is what gets us in. They put the bait out there of the things that they sell, and oftentimes we go for it. We buy things that we don't need and that don't benefit us. The money doesn't go into our communities, etc. But anyway, not to get off of my point, still is that land is a must for us to really be able to empower ourselves and to, like, say, as you said, grow your own food and have your own schools and things like that, which, it's not that we don't know it, it's just that we haven't really actualized it in a big way. Maybe the eye could even give a little bit more insight on that particular aspect of, Rastafari as a solution to the neocolonialism system.
Well, neocolonialism has taught us how to think. All of us, even those of us who are Rastafari in the West here, because we went to their school and church and all of the different things coming up. See, so they have taught us how to think. And they have taught us to think away from land, just like how we are taught to think away from our natural resources and to think about money. They have taught us in God we trust, money. They have taught us to put our trust in money, which is a promissory note. It is not even what it was in the early days of our foreparents, when money was backed by something. It was backed by gold. It was backed by precious metals. So money was not a promissory note. It was a legal tender at that time. And it used to say it on the notes, and they have changed that from the note. If you look on money today, you don't see legal tender. You see a promissory note. That's what it is. So we have been taught a process of thinking. So now our generation, the present generation, and even a lot of my generation, it started with a lot of my generation, to be factual, because growing up, I remember a lot of my brethren, a lot of my schoolmates and family and ones, we all grew up going to look for grandpa. We had, grandparents had land, had farms, had, it's the island. Our grandparents had land. And the system taught us that money is greater than land, and money, fame, fortune, money is the ultimate achievement. And what did most of us do? We sold that land. And I'm speaking from factual experience right now, because my family owned a lot of land in the St. Andrew Hills. I just took my daughter, who is here in Jamaica with me, for a visit right now. I just took her back there to show her. And the amount of land that our family owned, and my father and his sister were misled into giving away, because, in those days it was pennies and a dollar you got for those, which today worth a fortune. So they gave it away. They didn't leave it as a legacy to bolster the family throughout the generations, like how white people do it, like how other nations do it. Saying we are miseducated to think that let's just sell off our family land, run to the different cities and seek fortune, seek fame, seek, limelight, a neo-colonial process. See, the Rastaman saw all of that. That was the greatness of our foreparents, those early Rastafari, ancient. They saw that. And that's why their thing was land. Now, we realize that these lands in the West didn't belong to I and I. It belonged to the indigenous people that first inhabited it. And those people still exist today, even though we have been taught in school that the Arawaks are extinct and the Tainos are, and we find that they exist in other areas of the Caribbean and Central and South America. These people are still existing, So they are the true owners of these lands. So even though we are sojourners here and we claim a little piece of the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof kind of thing, where we are occupying what we are occupying for the minute. I and I, the African, those that survived, the trauma of, the transatlantic slave trade, and everybody know the history. Saying, I and I is looking to Mother Africa as the ultimate solution to our oppression in the West, to our colonialism and neo-colonialism. Now, we must be realistic though. Africa is suffering from the same thing. The only difference is Africa is ours. And we have the right in Africa to construct a society the way we see fit. And all we need to do, as the whole prophecy says, Africa awaits its creators. All we need to do is to return in numbers, ready to invest in Africa and to build, the necessities that we need to make Africa that place that we know Africa is supposed to be. That means going back with our skill sets, going back with our understanding, acquiring land, setting up factories, setting up all the infrastructure that we need. We only can do that if we have land.
Yeah.
You understand? And we do that, and we are able to build now, and we are able to now use our knowledge that we gain in the West to, develop our products, use our raw material, and not have to send it away, sell it for little and nothing to Europe, and Europe go and use it and come back now and sell us the finished product, at exorbitant prices. We can now create finished products for ourselves using the technology that many of us have acquired here in the West. So we can go and set up factories and high techno, institutions and so forth and so on. That's the ultimate solution to the African problem in the West. The ultimate solution. Just like how to wind it up, just like how every ethnicity has a designated space, Europe for the Europeans, Asia for the Asians, you understand, the Caribbean and the East Indian for the Tainos, Arawaks, and those, what they call the Red Indians or the Red Natives, Africa for the African. And when we reclaim that and utilize all the benefits that Africa has to offer us, then we won't have an economic problem, or we won't be fighting with the rest of the world over economic development. We will be sitting at a table with the rest of the world, negotiating how we interact and share the resources of the earth as people. Bless.
Yes, my Lord, give thanks. That pretty much sums everything up right there, because repatriation has always been the forefront, motivating factor of the Rastafari movement. We've made adaptive culture in the West, to cope with the less than desirable living circumstances that we're faced with, due to the fact that our foreparents were enslaved and worked for nothing, for centuries, to get us to where we are right now, where most of us are still in pretty much the same landless situation, yes, my Lord. And, someone in the chat room, the YouTube chat asked, how will the Africans at home feel about that, as far as us moving there and establishing factories and, claiming the land as Africans, which we are, but we also know that the neocolonialism system, which, not to get everything into this one necessary video, but we are doing more research, and the next topic or the next piece of the puzzle is about education, and I think that that's where the education comes in, is that we as a people globally have been brainwashed to detach ourselves from Africa, to detach ourselves from each other. And the ones at Africa have been told things about us in the West, and us in the West have been told things about the ones in Africa, and us in America have been told things about the ones in the Caribbean, and the ones in the Caribbean have heard things about the ones in Europe. And you know what I mean? All of us have these little stereotypes and things, which is all education, and it's all intentional, but it's not something that we can't overcome. It's just, we have to take the necessary steps to educate ourselves and to educate whoever it is that we may be able to educate in whatever sphere that we, function in, to get, really pan-Africanism, to be like common knowledge to the African, wherever we are. We have to know that we're each other's brothers and sisters, no matter what ethnic group we come from, no matter what flag they put us under. All of that stuff is division, as Priest Dougie has said, is just divide and rule. And, that's where the education aspect comes in, that we have to educate ourselves, for the best, for us, right now they're educating us for the best for them. And we have to undo and then redo the education system to make it more suitable for our growth and development. But yeah, Priest Dougie, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that before we seal up.
Repeat the question.
Oh, it wasn't really a question. It was just a statement, just declaring that, education, because that was asked
from the chat room.
Yeah, pardon my Lord. Yeah, the question was, how will the Africans at home feel about that? Referring to Black people from the West coming to Africa to develop it, basically.
There's an old saying, it's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going home with that family love and coming to share, the blessings of knowledge that you gained, and looking to develop with the people and not above the people, but with the people. We are going to build with the people to bring in facilities that they need, not just for ourselves, but what the people need. So where there is need for water, we will bring water. Where there is need for electricity, we'll bring electricity. We'll bring solar power, alternative energy, renewable energy. We will bring high technology where we need it and have it and can use it. So the people will see the benefit of us coming in. That's why repatriation has to be a thought out process. It cannot be a random sentiment or a romanticism where we, because we feel we have the right as Africans, which we do have the right to return home, but being realistic, we have been away from home for centuries and home has developed in a certain way. Now, the states of Africa have been going through colonialism and neocolonialism, which have held back Africa's development. So the states of Africa are struggling now to play catch up in the 21st century to become as techno advanced as anywhere else, to become as, we won't say as modern, because it's not everything that is modern as His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I, it's not everything that is modern is good, and not everything that is ancient is bad. So we won't say modern, but play catch up with technology that can serve us that we don't have right now. You understand? That can make life a little better for the struggling masses of the continent. See? So in this time, our people would see the benefit of that, you know, and we would be able to help Africa move faster towards Africa's goal, which is self-sufficiency, being able to be an independent continent with all the resources Africa has. There's nothing that we can go and take that will deprive the natives of Africa who are already there of, because there is so much of everything. It is being able to have the technology, the wherewithal, the equipment, and all of that to utilize the resources that is there that Africa is lacking today. And Africa is looking for I and I, their children who have been taken away, to return home with knowledge to help them develop. That's a historical fact. That is not a sentiment. That has been a long-standing statement that I came 40, 50 years into Rastafari, 50 years now, and I've been hearing that statement. Africa awaits its creators. Africa awaits its people. And I have had many of brethren and sisters who have traveled the continent come back and say that they have been told the same thing by Africans that they have met in their journey throughout the continent. There have been even questions posed, what has taken us so long, to return home? So Africa is looking for us and we are looking to come home. Don't make anybody tell anyone any different. That's fact.
Yes, I give thanks, Honorable. Yeah, thank you for Mana Farms for asking the question. There's no wrong question or no bad question, and nobody's judging. What you say, Priest?
No, man, beautiful question, man, because we have to think pragmatically.
Yes, sir.
Because the question is, there's a thing called xenophobia. It exists. So it's not like it's a crazy question. Xenophobia exists, which is another tool of neocolonialism. It's a tool of divide and rule. So all of that tie into the conversation. That question was a great question because it is taking place right now where Africans from one state go into another state and set up business and seem to be successful, or maybe are successful in some sense, and the native of where they are set up now sees it as some form of, privilege or injustice that they can do that, or some negative way in which colonialism and neocolonialism has taught us to think. Instead of looking at, well, if we of this area had set up that before, there would have been no need for that person to come set it up. So the fact that that person set up a business and is doing business and it is succeeding, there was a need for that service. So look at it as they brought a service that was needed. So it's the same way now you have the privilege to go to their state or any other state and bring a service that is needed and be successful as well. We are not taught that type of reciprocity, how to exchange the love. We are taught what I just said when I read the definition of neocolonialism. We are taught negative interdependency, which is to have conflict over resources that we are competing for. That old saying with the Rastaman always say, them have I and I competing for the crumbs off of the master table when his I and I own the bakery. We competing for the crumbs of the bread. Well, that is the same thing that is happening, in that reality where we are competing for the little things, looking at our one another as depriving each other of an opportunity and not looking at the fact that the person was able to create their own opportunity and that the earth is the Lord's too. Because in our reality, even if it's a Asian that is providing a service in our land. And we have a problem with that because they come in numbers and they take all the opportunities in a suffering country already. But even if it's an Asian who has opened up a business in your turf, unless you did have a business there before and that Asian come and undercut you and put you out of business, you have no growth, because you have that same opportunity to open up that business and provide the service for your community. See, it's a neocolonial education that has not taught us that way. We are not taught to be Fortune 500 CEOs, and to run businesses for ourselves. Black people of color are trained to be a labor pool, to fit into a system, a 9-to-5 system of labor and middle management.
Mm-hmm.
That is as far as they allow us to go in numbers. Because if we are allowed to go beyond that in numbers, then we become powerful. You understand? Because we can now impact their voting system and all of these different things, because we have money can campaign and whatever. See, so we are not allowed to function beyond a certain level in any numbers. And when you do see a person up there, them siphon them off and they work hard at brainwashing them to feel like they are no longer black. They are part of the system, which is either colorless or white. So these are realities that we have to see. A lot of our bright sisters and bright brothers who going to school with, when we went to school with them, they were grounded. They were seeing things a certain way. We would call it conscious. But because they are so bright and they are geniuses in their own right, when the system see that them can't beat them down and mash them down, and when the system see their potential, the system decides, if you can't beat them, you join them. So they pull them in and utilize their skills to build their system and maintain their system. And while doing that, they brainwash them to think that they are different from where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's neocolonialism. It's very sneaky and it comes in many, many guises. It is affecting us on every level of our development, That's why our people are acting out in all the ways they are. It is purposely done through a format of education, the overreaching mentality that they teach you, getting these things behind your name, these the bachelors and the masters and the PhD, and they create an elitist type of mentality in your mind that when you get these things, you become better than. They don't create a duty sentiment, wherein which now you have a PhD and can generate certain level of income and do certain works. You should be duty bound now to serve your community in a meaningful way. They don't educate us that way. They teach us now that your PhD, people have to call you whatever them have to call you, doctor this or whatever, and you eventually think and adopt that mentality until your personality is carved out into that way. Let's see. So it's a system, a whole entire system. That's why them say, no matter how you change the people out of the offices, until you change the system, nothing changes. Yeah, you've done.
Yes, my Lord, give thanks. So, as I stated before, this is a series of reasoning, neocolonialism. The first part of it, was defining the term and getting an understanding and how it applies to us. We've done some reasoning on economics, and also, coming up, stay tuned. We'll be talking about education very soon. As you can really get from even tonight's reasoning, education for Black people is a very important aspect of what keeps us, mentally enslaved and even physically enslaved. And when we say education, we don't just mean math and English. We talking everything that you learn, which includes the propaganda system that they use against us and everything. We'll go into detail about that. So, I encourage everyone to tune in and stay tuned and pay attention, as more videos will come out in the near future. We're working hard behind the scenes. We may not always be, putting out the live streams, but we definitely are continuously reasoning in the study group and just, making sure we understand what we're talking about before we come out here to tell, the family what it is that we're doing and what we've learned. So I don't know if the honorable priest had anything he wanted to say in closing, but we're looking to seal up at this time, my Lord.
Just add to what you're saying. We when you don't see us, we are doing the research. The knowledge that we bring to you, the information that we bring, we don't try to bring, sentiment and folklore, and we try to bring science, historical facts, and somewhat proven knowledge, proven, actions that have yielded some results. So yeah, we are behind the scenes doing the work. And we give thanks for the international study group, provided by the African Liberation Network, that platform. It's a set of ones that are diligently, behind the scenes, working together to unfold the information. So sometimes you might see I giving this information, you might think it's the wisdom of Priest Dougie. No, I am backed by a team who helps to unfold all of this information. I am only able to elucidate it, because they unfold it. Yeah, give thanks.
Yes, I give thanks for love and unity. Black unity really is a big part of the solution, major underlying factor in everything we do. That Black unity and Black love has to be there, So yes, my Lord and Empress, royal family watching us on YouTube, give thanks for tuning in. Give thanks for all those in the chat room sharing your thoughts and reasoning. Give thanks for all the questions. In the future, always feel free to ask questions, give suggestions, add to the reasoning, whatever, anything, it's all valuable and we are paying attention. We do value your opinion and your time and your attention. This is the Bobo Study Group. I'm the host, Honorable Prophet Daniel, and with me, the co-host, but also leading priest. He's not just really a co-host. He really does a lot to keep the study group, continuing, and Priest Dougie really serves a great purpose as an elder, leading priest in the group, and also as a historian and many other things, So give thanks, my Lord, for being with us always, and give thanks for this few moments that we could, share together. And, give thanks for the continued work and the continued effort, for the education of our people, Yeah, no matter how many people view it, it definitely is a great contribution to the African liberation struggle. And for that, we thank you. And all other freedom fighters and revolutionaries, scholars and all, globally working to dismantle Babylon system, and free up the Black people internationally. Yes, my Lord.
Yeah,
Yes.
man. It's a pleasure, my Lord. It's a duty, we give thanks for the moments and the little that we can do in the name of our liberation. In the name of our liberation is essential. The little that we can do, so the little that every one of I and I can do, the questions that are posed, the suggestions that are made, just even taking time out to think about our circumstance and situation is vital. So we give thanks for all efforts in the way of liberation and liberating ourselves, both mentally and physically. Yeah, give thanks.
Yes, my Lord. So, yes, in closing, this is the African Liberation Network. Give thanks again for your time and attention. And until next time, we are working hard for you and we look forward to being with you again. Yeah, and our strength and powers, our guidance and protection going out and coming in from this time henceforth and forever. Jah Rastafari.